Welcome everybody to the I Work For Me podcast. Today I am chatting to Ika Van Wyk, and we're going to be chatting about marketing and the lessons that she learned in setting up her online store in a month. Now, to me, that sounds incredible that you can set up a business in a month. And she's actually going to tell us how a month could actually be quite a long time to set up a store online. So it's going to be really interesting, and I feel really inspiring, and also showcases how most people can definitely, with a computer or with a mobile device, actually set up an online business. So this is super exciting. So I really hope you're all going to listen into her tips, because she has done it herself. And so she isn't just giving, empty advice. This is, she's walked the long road. So without further ado, I'm going to say hello, Ika. How are you?
Hello, Melina. I'm well, thank you. And thanks for the opportunity.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, everything you're saying, exactly right. I think, for me, I went from having an idea to having a fully fledged operational business. I want to say a month later. It was probably a little bit before a month, but, I was still making a lot of tweaks and, just, finessing some stuff towards the end there. But, there's a lot of stuff that I learned in the process, which I think if it saves someone else a bit of time or money, then I'd love to be able to share it. So obviously my journey is my own and my product is unique to what I sell. So other people might have very different experiences. Other people might not necessarily have the same background that I have. So some of the stuff that I did myself, other people might want to pay someone to do it, because it's not their area of expertise. So, take from this what you can. But the important thing to know is that it can be done, and there's a lot of options out there. And I think never has the time been so opportune for people and businesses to look at online and e-commerce as a really feasible opportunity to, grow a business. I actually had a different business a couple of years ago, also an online business, which failed miserably, but I learned so much, from that experience. And if I look at where we are today in terms of how easy it's become and how accessible it's become for people to have online businesses, it's like day and night from 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So it's a super exciting time to be, a business owner and an entrepreneur, not just in South Africa, but in the world. So I'm excited to share some of the things that I've learned along the way.
Fantastic. And I'm pretty excited to hear about them myself. So just in case people don't know, obviously I have interviewed you before, and we've spoken about your different businesses, because you actually have multiple streams of income. And we're actually going to focus on your product-based business today and not your service-based business. And that's super exciting from the sense that your service-based business is kind of word of mouth. You have expertise in that it doesn't necessarily need the hard work of putting out a new business. So I'm glad that we're going to be speaking about just your product-based business. So for people who may not know what it is, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Right. So at the beginning of the year, I was having brunch with my husband, and I floated this idea past him for a alternative to traditional jewelry shopping. Quick backstory: I got retrenched twice last year, and I just really didn't want to go through the trauma again. So, I told him about how I think diamonds are beautiful, but they're overpriced, overrated. There's a lot of marketing hype behind it. So I think there's another alternative for people who like the aesthetic of diamond jewelry, but don't necessarily like the environmental impact, or the price, or the marketing BS, of diamonds that are forever and whatnot. And also being, someone who's been working in digital for so long, I love online shopping. That's how I buy just about everything in my life. And I felt like there should be a better alternative for people who don't necessarily like to or want to go into that pretentious high street jewelry environment. So the idea was born. I had the vision. I was retrenched at the time, to set it up. Obviously, I didn't have the money to, just float the business. But that's how I set into action to set up an online store quickly. So within the space of a month, I went from idea to business set up, done, dusted. And what I found was that there's a lot of options out there. It takes a hell of a lot of research, and you probably need to kick the can down the road a couple of times. I need to realize this isn't going to work for me, and then come back and try something else again. So I'm just going to share with you guys what worked for me and what didn't work for me.
Yes.
And I hope that I save someone else some time. So for me, I think the first thing is, if you can't actually collect money or payment from your clients, your online store, your venture is not going to be successful. Mm-hmm. So step one is register a company. You don't need a company in South Africa to be able to trade, but if you want to have a proper online store, it does give you credibility, because having a registered company allows you to open up accounts with third-party payment providers, so that you can collect payment online. There's nothing worse than having an online shopping experience, and at checkout someone says, great, now we'll email you an invoice so that you can do an EFT. People want to pay with their cards, they want to check out, that's the expectation. So not having a company registered, has a downstream effect on the customer's experience if you've got an online store. So I did mine a good couple of years ago when I opened up an F&B business account. They just launched a service where they allowed you to register with SIPC. So I did that a couple of years ago. It was quick and it was easy, and I believe that service still exists today. So definitely recommend it. Then I applied.
I'm just going to interrupt and say, yeah, absolutely. I didn't know about that F&B thing, which sounds great. I'm sorry I don't, because I do bank with them. But otherwise, if people don't know how to, get hold of the CIPC or whatever, then they can always ask their accountant. So the accountant can help you register your business. So that's the other way just to do it. So just to say that, find an accountant to help you and you should be set.
For me, the accountant came way after. I literally just in the last week hired an accountant for the first time. I'd been doing my own bookkeeping until then. So if you already have an accountant, you can definitely go that route as well. So having a registered company is step one. Then step two is you must apply for a third-party payment solution or provider so that you can integrate that into your online store. So I use PayFast, but there are quite a couple in South Africa these days. Peach Mobile is one of the other biggest ones that I've worked with before. So I would kind of recommend those two. I do know, unfortunately, that because of COVID-19 and the lockdown, they've all seen a massive spike in applications from businesses who weren't previously online, trying to now get merchant accounts set up. So where you should have potentially waited a couple of days from application to having a merchant account, it could now take a couple of weeks. So if you're thinking to go online, fast track that process, get it going, definitely. Trust is really important there. So in the world of online shopping, the idea that your information is not safe or secure is a big deterrent. So having a provider that is trustworthy, that's got traction in South Africa, and most of all, who's got good after-sales service and support for you, is really important. So make sure you go with someone that is reputable. I've had my site kick off my payment integration before, and the ability to get on a call with someone and get it sorted out is really important, because it's your livelihood. If you can't get money from your clients when you make a sale, your business is going to suffer for it. So that ability to collect money is key. Get that sorted out.
Yes.
Another thing is the bigger, more reputable companies like PayFast and Peach Mobile, they integrate with e-commerce platforms automatically, which means if you are like me and you're not a coder or a developer, you can just integrate your supplier without needing someone to go into the back end of your site with code, right. Which makes it a lot easier and faster. So go for the big ones. The fees that they ask are not exorbitant, and it's definitely justified by the amount of time and effort and resources it saves you to have an IT or a development team, that can do that for you. So definitely worth, that.
Okay.
And accounting is really important. Like you mentioned, what an accountant can do for you. I went with Zoho in the past, and it was fine, but I find that this time around I went with Xero, Xero accounting. It's such an easy to use platform, for you to do your own bookkeeping in the beginning. Like the platform is pretty self-explanatory. It integrates with South African bank accounts, so your bank feed is continuously running through Xero. So your recons are really easy to do. But Xero also integrates with PayFast and with Shopify, and I'm pretty sure with a whole bunch of other, e-commerce and payment suppliers as well. So the fact that I can just trust all of these systems to speak to each other automatically without me having to, continuously manually have to go and enter things into accounts or journals or ledgers is such a game changer because it saves so much time. So
Absolutely.
I highly recommend Xero. I also used a service provider for payroll because it was really important for me to keep my business and my personal accounting separate. But I canceled that about a month ago just because Xero started offering, payroll as part of what they do. So for me, it's a great catch-all platform. It's not the cheapest, but I find that it's absolutely worth what you spend. So I spend a couple hundred a couple hundred rand every month on Xero, but it's absolutely worth it. The accountant that I've got now, she also works on Xero, so that like switch over from my DIY bookkeeping to her is going to be within minutes, and it's going to be seamless. So Xero was great for me.
Well, that's great because I mean I've heard some of the people I've interviewed have spoken about Wave, and I was quite curious. So I chatted to my accountant and I said, what should we do? And she was like, oh, there's no need at this stage, to kind of move on to Wave. She said in terms of kind of what it's going to do for you at this stage of the game isn't really worth it. So it's great to know that there are lots of other options around there. So I think we'll stick that in the show notes as well, just to say, if people want to click and find those, providers, I think we'll just slot that in as well. Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for something very specific to a e-commerce business, and I went out with a goal of finding solutions that as many of them would integrate with each other as possible. So, I didn't want standalone solutions. I literally, and everything needed to have a mobile app, because a lot of what I do is, like it's not business hours. It's not when I'm in front of my desk. So the fact that there's, an app for Xero, an app for Shopify, and everything connects to each other, like that was really, really, really important. So talking about branding and the more creative side of the business, I think oftentimes a lot of time and money and energy gets spent figuring out what the brand should look like. And this is one part where I do recommend that you go to a designer who's got experience in brand development, because they can just shortcut the whole process and show you results, and save you a lot of time and heartache and money. But to do that, you really need to have spent some time figuring out what it is that you have in mind for your brand as well. Because if you give your designer an open-ended brief, you're basically paying them to go and do the thinking on your behalf, which just means that there's, wheel spinning happening. So give your designer a proper brief. I, for example, called a designer that I've worked with before in the past, and I know what she can do, and I trusted her to, help me for this. And I gave her a very specific brief where I told her what I'm going to sell, where I'm going to sell it, how I'm going to sell it, the vision I have for that entire customer experience, from, finding my website all the way to opening up the package once it arrives at the doorstep, who I think is going to buy from me, the price point that I'm at. And then I gave her brands that I said, please reference these brands. Don't reference those brands. Like, this is what I like and what I have in mind. This is not what I like and not what I have in mind. Because I think as a luxury jewelry brand, you need to make sure that if you don't want a certain look and feel, that your designer knows that that's not what you're looking for. Otherwise, my designer could easily have come back with something that was very pink and romantic and floral, or very, dark brown wood and mahogany. which is kind of like the two archetypes for luxury jewelry brands at the moment. And that's not what I wanted at all. And I needed to be clear with her on, what I didn't want. So definitely a bit of time spent up front, but absolutely worth the investment of going to a professional designer that I trust. It's also about making sure they understand the emotion that you want your brand to evoke.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, and I've interrupted you. But just to reiterate that, kind of having worked in agency, we always said the brief should never be brief, because you actually need to, as a business owner, know that what's inside your head is what's inside your head and nobody else can see it. And you now need to be able to articulate that in order for someone to come up with the right brand. And there's often that very loose understanding, and there's a vague brief, and then it's like someone comes back and they're like, oh, but I don't like red, and it's like, yeah, and from that moment on, things go pear-shaped. So I love that you thought exactly what you wanted, exactly what you didn't want. And I think those are two very clear things. And I think, things like taking screenshots of things that you like online or things that you don't like, very simplistic, or showing a brochure of what you like, or, saying, oh, this logo works for me, something like this, because it's actually okay to copy. So all of that stuff, I think, is really important. So I'm glad that you did that and that you've spoken about that. So yeah, and especially the emotion that goes with that. So who's buying into that? Because the buying experience is emotional, especially online,
Yeah.
in someone's face, in someone's house. So what is that experience about? Cool. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of tools available that you can, quickly design your own logo. And, there's a lot of design tools available. And I use some of them for the stuff that I do. Absolutely. I mean, Canva is my best friend. But when it comes to the higher level design work, that's the putting down the foundation for your business, because you definitely don't want to change it in a year's time because, it just doesn't work, or, I made a mistake there, or, I'm not a designer. Having someone conceptualize your brand and your corporate identity from the get-go, absolutely worth the investment. And that's what sets your brand apart from looking and feeling like a DIY brand to looking and feeling like something that is professional and worth the money that you want people to pay and invest, in the products that you're selling. So that was a really critical early stage step for me, was that brand development. I knew I wasn't going to, I didn't want to get it wrong. And even though I was, DIYing my business myself, I didn't want that part to feel DIY at all, because it would have basically undermined the entire effort from the get-go. So definitely worth investing in a good designer. But then the flip side of that is things like Canva. Absolutely. Canva is my best friend for things like basic photo editing, cropping stuff, changing some of the colors, social media posts, by all means, do it yourself if you're comfortable doing it. I find that Canva, the free version is great, but the pro or the premium version is absolutely worth the money spent as well. So I use the premium version. It's great. It's wonderful. Love it.
I've just upgraded and I'm quite excited because you can do so many interesting things, and now there's video things and all sorts. So it's absolutely fantastic. I agree with you 100% on investing in Canva.
Yeah, and not just what it allows you to do from a design perspective, just the fact that you can add people into your team and collaborate. Especially now in the time of COVID, I don't want to hop on a call and I don't want to sit face to face with people all the time if I've got one or two people that I'm outsourcing design or content creation work to. So Canva has been a time saver as much as it's been a lifesaver, and I absolutely love it. And then Canva's big brother and little brother on the video editing side is WeVideo for me. And Viva Video. So WeVideo is desktop software-based program that helps you to edit long-form videos, I would say. It's not the most creative of video editing solutions, but it's definitely good for certain types of videos that Viva Video doesn't necessarily itself. So Viva Video is an Android. I think it's Android and iOS, but I'm an Android girl, so I use everything on Android, and it's a really cool app that I've got on my phone. So whenever I'm doing like little photos and videos of my rings and my jewelry, it's such a great little app to just upload it instantly, edit it, add cool features, and it integrates with my social media platforms that's on my phone already. So both of those have got a place as well. And I've tried a couple of different ones, Pixaloop, and I'm sure there's lots that people are in love with. Viva Video works for me. I like it. I think it's, I've got zero video editing skills, so if I can use it, I think anyway. So those two are quite cool. And I think that's the takeout on the branding and the creative side. I'm not even going into packaging. I'm more specifically just talking about everything I needed to set up my online business.
Yes.
The business side to that, is the how and where you sell. So for me, it was a no-brainer to go with Shopify because I've got no coding experience. I'm not a developer. And I didn't want to be messing around with building a website where I needed to understand the code or upskill myself and, spend all of that time not being in the market with the product because I'm busy learning how to code. And, that wasn't an option for me. So I also didn't have the money to pay someone to do it for me. So Shopify was great for me as a e-commerce platform. I know a lot of people like WooCommerce because it allows you to do more and different and customize in a way that Shopify doesn't. But WooCommerce does need a little bit of WordPress and HTML experience, as far as I know, which I don't have, and I'm not interested in picking up anytime soon. So for me, my experience with Shopify was literally I bought a domain from Ionos. I linked it to my Google business, like my suite, so I set up my email addresses, and I went and created my online store all within the space of an hour. Wow. I had my URL, everything was done within the space of an hour, everything was connected, and then obviously you start customizing it. But for me, Shopify was a game changer. Obviously different products are sold in a different way, so do your own research to figure out what will work for you. But for me, I have a lot of products with a lot of variations because all of my jewelry have different sizes. They come in different metal settings. So Shopify just made it really easy for me to do bulk uploads of products using CSV files. And one of the things I really loved about Shopify, I've spoken about the integration, with all the other systems and the platforms that I use. But Shopify, I feel they've really upped their game in terms of client support. So they really want you to be successful. So I would be busy, working on my website, getting the back end to like loading everything on my shop. And I would just see all of these notifications coming through from Shopify, like, have you done this course? This is a free course. Like, we'll take you through how to do this. We'll explain to you how to write good blog posts for your shop, and Instagram training courses. And a lot of the stuff that they offer is freebies to upskill yourself. I've gone through and I used. So during the day, I'll sit and, do the work. And during night, it'll be my training time. And I would just sit and go through all of the training courses on how to do better email marketing, how to set yourself up so that your Instagram marketing really works for an e-commerce business. I got a lot of support from Shopify that I didn't anticipate, to be honest. So yeah, fan for life. Love Shopify. And I didn't need a team. Like they really talk to the kind of person who doesn't come from a technical background or doesn't have a marketing background. Even though I do have a little bit, but I still found it to be extremely useful. So I really like what they're doing.
Then I just want to pause there. I think what you did there as well, though, was be open to learning new things. And so you took this process not only as a great, I'm going to open my shop in a month, but you also kind of went, right, okay, oh, look, this bit of information is coming through. Wow, I'm gonna learn how to do that. Oh, I don't know how to do that. And, and you took up those opportunities. So I think that should be something else that, you know, if a service provider is giving you good advice, you know, of course they want you to do well in your business. It's going to be more transactions going through their payment system. Why wouldn't they? They're going to give you good advice. They're not going to give you rubbish advice. So just think about the free stuff in terms of advice that you can get. And yeah, so great. Good on you for being a constant learner.
I must say that first month I didn't sleep at all. You know, and I probably could have stopped after the first week, because that's kind of when my website was done and set up. But to be honest, it's the finessing that I applied in the last 3 weeks of that first month, which really took my website from being just any old website to being something that looked professional, was polished, and all of that like technical SEO stuff that sits behind your product listings. Like that's really what I went through for 3 weeks, like painstakingly going through every single product that I loaded, every single image, to make sure that you've got product names and descriptions, proper alt text for each image, because that's the stuff that makes your website show up in search results. So, you know, really important. You can skip all of that. You can, you know, you can really cut the corners there, but it's absolutely worth putting in the time and getting that stuff like done right. And again, Shopify, they're amazing. Like they guide you through it, and they'll give you examples, and they'll explain why it's important. So Shopify in and of itself was a great resource of information for me.
Great.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. What really excited me was there's also a Shopify point of sale app that you can download onto your phone. And I was super excited to try that out, because it allows you to make face-to-face sales right there and then with a POS app. So if you're at a market, or you know, if you've got a trade day or a pop-up shop, like that's where you would use the Shopify point of sale app directly on your phone as a merchant. Unfortunately, I never got to try it because that's when the lockdown happened. But it's on my list, and I think, you know, it's something that I'm really excited to try once we start getting out again.
Yes.
And then the other place where you can sell, which is not just Shopify or WooCommerce or Wix or whatever you choose as your main site, is social media. I think for a long time, social media was looked at as a advertising and community building tool, which it very much still is. But in the last, I want to say 6 months, but especially in the last month, Instagram and Facebook, and because they're part of the same company, they've just really gone above and beyond to open up their social platforms to become either extensions of your existing Shopify or online store, or just standalone stores. So the idea that people are getting more comfortable with online shopping is filtering into social media. So people will look for your products inside of Instagram and Facebook without even, you know, leaving it to go to your online store. So if you're not tapping into that, that's a massive missed opportunity. I've made sales on the basis of people seeing my products in these stores and converting either there or still, you know, elsewhere. But it's a shop front. You know, that's where people are seeing and experiencing and testing and researching your product. So it's really important to not just look at social media as an outlet for branded content, or a way to chat to people. It's a shop front as well. So make sure your products are listed there.
Yes.
And also good quality photos and descriptions, and, you know, make sure your prices are showing. Really important.
Okay. And so that would be then, like, say on Facebook, where you've got, you know, the shop, it would be, it's that interface. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. And it's really slick how they've integrated products into your environment, not just as a user, but also as the merchant, because now you can reply to people and attach product links. You know, that you know, they're making it so easy. It just feels so conversational. So they've not had a massive departure away from this idea that it should always be conversational when it's on social media. You know, they're just making it really easy for you. But it's up to you to make sure that your key, your I want to say your core store, your Shopify store, is integrated, and that your products are pulling through. Every now and again, when I log out of Facebook for whatever reason, it does sometimes kick out some of my products, and then I just need to go and make sure that my accounts are linked up again. So, continuously keep an eye on it to make sure that your products are listed in your social media accounts, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's the bulk of where my time, energy, effort, money is being spent, is on social media, because it's where I run most of my successful advertising. It's where all of my content, gets shared, and that's where most of the customers that I've been selling to reach out to me first. So that's where I'm having my conversations. That's where I'm converting people. That's where I get to talk to them. So social media has been a key element for me, and because it's a consumer brand and my products are very visual, I've used Instagram as the foundation of my social media strategy, followed closely by Facebook. It's because I'm getting massively high engagement rates on Facebook. People are still very much engaging on Facebook, where I find with Instagram, I'm getting high interest through likes and stuff, but not so much engagement compared to Facebook. Twitter, I'm still figuring it out. Like I'm trying to find my brand's niche and what the strategy is for Twitter, and I haven't found that out yet. But I would say if I dropped everything else and I just had to focus in one area, it would be Instagram and then Facebook.
Yeah,
Really well.
I find the same thing. As much as I love Instagram, because I obviously love the imagery, etc., but I feel like users of Instagram are looking for images. I don't get the same engagement that I get on Facebook, where people will like stop, comment, or ask, or message, or something. They are interested, they're curious, they want to buy, all that kind of thing. On Instagram, it's very much like passing through, oh, that's pretty, wow. But like nobody's buying. So, I mean, obviously,
show me the beautiful stuff. Yeah.
And doing it badly, but I find Instagram a very difficult place to sell anything. Very difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's also about the product. Like my services business, for example, I don't go near Facebook and Instagram with my services business. Right, so let's talk about Google. There are a few different search engines, obviously, that people use, but my business is small enough that I only have to focus on one, and the most dominant one is obviously Google. So it's a no-brainer that Google should be part of your business strategy, from a marketing and a distribution perspective. Not just because it's good for advertising, and gosh, I mean, they've got so many different ad formats that you can use. It's not just search ads, they've got retail ads and shopping ads and, all kinds of amazing ads. But you also have to invest that time that I mentioned earlier into how you set up your online shop, how you describe your products, the metadata that you add to your product listings, because Google will index your pages, and the best kind of search results is the organic stuff that comes up when someone's Googling or looking for a product that is similar or like the ones that you sell. So don't underestimate the amount of work that goes into an online shop, and how much like metadata and the stuff that no one really sees or thinks is important, how much of a big difference that actually makes in how your site performs. Little things like variety of images, good quality images, like Google pays attention to that. So if your images are blurry or low, very pixelated, low resolution, it penalizes your site and you've got a bad quality score. So good quality photos. Use JPEGs, not PNGs. PNGs are heavy, it makes your site slower. So JPEGs, you can upload an image that has got a smaller file size, which makes your site faster, and Google will reward you for that. So all kinds of interesting things that you need to think about when you think Google. So for me, I think I've mentioned that I also use Google for my business suite. Right. So all of my email and document storage runs through Google. It's permanently in the cloud, which is great. So I moved away from Microsoft about a year and a half ago. I just love the flexibility that I get from Google, and then the ability to, again, tie all of the different things together in one area just makes my life a lot easier. So I highly recommend Google. And then, yeah, the integration between Google and Shopify has been a key decision maker for me as well, as to why I went with Shopify in the end. Because I think for me, it doesn't speak to Google. Can you trust it?
And that's not a bad thing to think, like often if you also go onto the websites and you can either log on with Facebook or Google, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, decent, like, and you could just do a quick log on that way. So agree with you 100%. Like if Google don't like, why,
Exactly. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. And then, in typical blogger style, I've got 5 lessons or 5 tips that I can share with people. And I think the first one is, learning from my own experience. Don't hold back to publish your site, even if you think it's not perfect yet. The minute you've set up your online shop, publish it, because you're not at risk of 1 million people suddenly finding your website overnight and thinking your products are shit. Just publish it, because you want the search engines to start indexing your pages for future, search engine optimization purposes. As soon as you can, go live with your site. If you're not ready to promote it yet, fine, don't, that's fine. But it does take Google and Bing and all the other search engines some time to index your pages. So switch it on. Don't skimp on product descriptions, alt text for images, the quality and the variety of photos that you put on there. Your site will perform better from a search engine perspective, but your user experience will also be richer for that. So don't skimp on that. And, add as many product images as you possibly can. I'm forever adding, more and more and more and more. And yeah, just, constantly invest energy and effort into what your product listings look like. Third tip is, right at the beginning especially, get feedback from friends and family who will be honest. So give them your site, ask them to poke around, break it, and watch their reactions. If they are confused about where to find something or what something means, chances are you've got customers that will feel exactly the same. So if you can fix something through a user experience change, do that, because then it's easier for people to, go through your shop until they check out and buy a product. Or if there's stuff that they're genuinely confused about, write blog posts about it, like address these things. To try and do that as early as you can as possible as well, because that means that once you go live and you launch good and properly and you put advertising behind your site, you've got a site that has been stress tested a bit by, friends and family that will probably represent some kind of customer voice as well. Fourth one there is, depending on what you sell, be patient, because it takes time to make your first sell. And this is a tough one, because I know what it's like to be extremely hungry and motivated, and you've got the site and you've got the products and everything is ready to go, and then nothing.
Yeah.
So it takes time. I mean, my first, what I call stranger sale, it's a sale that I make to someone who's a complete stranger. In other words, it's not friends or family supporting me. So my first stranger sale happened exactly 3 months to the day after I launched my site. That's how long it can take. I think you are lucky if it's before that, but I think for a lot of people, especially in the current environment, depending on what you sell, it could even take longer. So just be patient and just don't sit back once you've launched your store. Launch your store and then invest in marketing, build that foundation, because people also want to suss you out and make sure that you are legit and that you are for real. And by all means, try and make your friends and family buy from you as much as possible, because it's word of mouth.
Yes.
That goes a long way. So yeah, just be patient, but stay hungry, because that first sale will come. And then the fifth tip that I have is, depending on what your situation is at the beginning, try and invest whatever money you can into social media and advertising, because a store that's not promoted doesn't exist. if people don't know about it, it's as good as not existing.
Mm.
And that's where brick and mortar has got a benefit, because just being in a mall or being in the high street means that people will walk past it and they'll see you and they'll find out about you. The
Mm.
same doesn't apply for an online shop. So as soon as you can, even if it's just 50 Rand, like spend that money to start getting the word out. Um, I I think consistency is key on social media. Um, I interrupted my efforts in the first couple of weeks of COVID. Like, I had such a skrik, when we went into lockdown, and I didn't know how to respond with my company, that I just stopped all of my advertising and social media content for a couple of weeks. And I lost all of the traction that I built for my company, and I had to start from scratch again. So don't do that. Even if you've got very little, just make sure that you've got some ads running and test different ad formats, see what works for you, but just make sure that there's not a complete vacuum or a state of silence around your shop. Like, there's got to be social media content, there's got to be ads. Like, just make sure there's something, because if you don't have that, then you're as good as dead in the water. And if you interrupt it for whatever reason, even if it's just for 2 or 3 weeks, you literally throw out all of the traction that you got at some point, and you have to start from scratch again. So those would be my tips. So learn from my experience. Don't stop any activity, even if you have to scale it down, because it takes a while then to build it back up again.
Mm. Absolutely. You always need to be seen, those doors always need to be open. I would add one more, if I may be so bold. If you always encourage someone who comes and shops with you to sign up either to some kind of a newsletter or a promo mailer or whatever, so that you don't have to buy that person again through advertising. You can rather, so say,
right,
every click costs you 5 or 10 Rand, or whatever it is, ideally 5. You can hopefully then get that person to sign up to some kind of a newsletter or specials newsletter or whatever it is. And then that 5 Rand that you were using to buy that person every time back to your site can now rather go to buy someone else, because you can then add them to a mailing list. And so maybe
absolutely, yeah,
specials or whatever, and you can send out, or promos or whatever, and you can now you've got that person, in your list, and now you can really engage with them directly without having to buy them every time with social media, because it's expensive.
You're so right. And I didn't even think about that, but one of the things that I picked up from one of the Shopify blog posts while I was busy building my shop is, from day one, prioritize building a mailing list. It's one of the longest investments that you will make, like longest term investments that you'll make in your business. But that's one of the most effective ways for online businesses to make sales and to build relationships over time. And I took it to heart. I just made sure that there's, plenty of opportunities built into my shopping experience on my site to sign up. And choose Bob, like, people do, I thought, will people even care to find out more? But that was actually one of the things that kept me going right at the beginning, because I wasn't making sales, but I was seeing every day that people were signing up for my email list, like, there's interest there. And what that signals is that, I might not be interested in buying now, but it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in not buying ever somewhere down the line. So absolutely. I actually found that to be, like, I was very focused on celebrating small wins in the beginning, because that was one way for me to stay motivated and, keep going when sales weren't coming in, and watching my email list grow every day. Like, I would literally freak out every day, be like, 5 people, 15 people. And yeah, if your product is good, if your brand is quality, if your site experience is well thought through, people will come. But yes, it takes time. So yeah, definitely the email one, big one.
Yeah,
Thanks for adding that.
exactly. Yeah, so I mean, that might be another one to add, is find yourself a good email tool. So something like MailChimp or ConvertKit. I don't know which one you use. I used to use MailChimp. Now I'm moved on to ConvertKit. But yeah, so whatever kind of mail service provider, there are tons. You can Google that and find out about that.
I'm still sussing out that. At the moment, I'm using OmniSend, which is a Shopify recommended third-party app.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say I've used it enough to want to make it a recommendation. I'm not giving it the double thumbs up yet. It's just because I'm still sussing it out a bit. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's got recommendations for what works for them, specifically for Shopify shops, I would love to know. Hit me up. Find me on the Insta. Tell me what you're using, please.
I love that. Yeah, yeah, you see, it's that continuous learning. That's fantastic. I love that about you. Cool, Ika, that is really cool. I think you've shared a ton of stuff. I almost want to write it all down because it's something you might find people want to refer back to. So I'm hoping that you will be sharing that blog post with us, which will be really, really awesome. So thank you so much.
I'll definitely do that.
Great. Cool. Well, thank you so much. Now everybody in the world knows how to create a business in a month. So there you go. Boom, done. So thank you again for sharing. And I hope that we can chat soon about, what's happening in your business and even more of your learnings.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. And it's so good to share. And I hope that if it makes a difference for one person, then, it was worth me getting into makeup face for this day.
Absolutely. Always worth getting into makeup face. Awesome. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.